I'm Lauren Glendavidian. I'm the Executive Director here at CCTV Center for Media and Democracy, and I'd like to welcome you to our Media Maven Lunch. It's January, right? It's the first one of 2010. And there's some new faces here. We're so glad that you're here. So what we typically do is just a quick introduction, and then anybody has any announcements that they'd like to share with the community, we'd always love to hear those announcements. Tuya is recording, which is great. Nick Carter is in the back. He's our network coordinator here at CCTV. Kathleen Swanson, member services, and Megan Humphrey, who is our marketing queen. And then I also just going to shout out for Ryan Torres from the Vermont Community Foundation, who has helped to support this work that we're doing not only in Chittenden County but across the state with the Project Common Good Vermont, which we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about today. The purpose of today is to talk about tagging and how to tame the internet firehose. And before we get to that, I am going to ask Kathleen maybe to make a quick announcement about membership and our new membership structure and membership offering, and also to let you know that we have a calendar of events for 2010. Be sure to get one if you haven't. And Kathleen.
So after 4 years of providing these wonderful media mavens for free for everybody, we had to restructure it in our member benefits for our wonderful members. I think we have about 60 members, and so the trainings are free to our members and $10 for non-members. Lunch will still be available for $5. All members are entitled to a strategic communications workshop that is totally fantastic, that helps organizations think strategically about how they market and communicate to their stakeholders. And you should take, if your organization hasn't done that, please give me a shout out and we will schedule one. And and we also have revamped the tech services. We now have sort of a corral of vendors in the community that we can refer you to, and these vendors will also, for our members, provide a discount to their services, and they are all very valuable providers of these services. And what else was I going to say? I can't remember.
Well, membership also gets you discounts on video.
Oh, right. Video production services and event taping, which is also a very valuable thing for nonprofits. So if you're interested in any of that, just give us a call.
Great. Thank you, Kathleen. Do we have any announcements? Anyone like to share things that are happening that you want folks to know about? Joel.
This isn't specific to our agency, but earlier this week there was a TechSoup podcast on using social media, integrating it with nonprofits. I'll send you the link to the information, but they were also saying that they were going to redo it in early February because they had so many people who wanted to sign up for it.
Great.
But it was a very good, overview of how and why to use different media and how to sort of calendarize how and when you do it. So I thought it was worthwhile to share.
Great. Thank you. Any other announcements? Maureen, yes.
Vermont Adult Learning, we're having our first winter graduation on January 28th at St. Michael's College for the students who have graduated between July 1st and the current day. So we'll see how it goes. It's very exciting.
Very exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any other announcements, events? Yes, Ken.
Hi, I'm Ken Russell. I have a business called Vermont Vision Strategic Communications, and just trying to expand our business. I just went to Las Vegas to the Consumer Electronics Show, which was interesting. It was a big spectacular. I used to be sort of a Luddite, so I had this interesting relationship with technology, but can really embrace a lot of the socially good aspects of it. And so, but I really kind of got a good buzz on from it, and got hooked up with like the young hip Twitter crowd, and went to all these tweet ups, and that was pretty interesting. But I also just wanted to put out there, I'm interested in working with anybody doing strategic communications, whether it be sort of more political, advocacy based. I used to work for the ACLU, and also more integrative communications like group process and collaborative processes like conflict resolution. So
great. Thank you very much. I wanted to let people know that there is the Nonprofit Certificate Program, which is sponsored by Champlain College and Marlborough College, is starting their spring session. And there's a breakdown here. It starts in March. And for those of you who are nonprofit executive directors or staff people working to be in a leadership position, this is a really great and incredibly inexpensive, I think, training program. I think it's about $1,200 or something, but there are scholarships available. And they're doing it here in Chittenden County and also near the Upper Valley, I think, this Springfield, right, this spring. So there's some info about that. And then also another thing just to know about is one of the member benefits is the Fieldstone Alliance. We have a deal with them where you can get their resources at a discount. So that's good to know. Any other announcements? Great. Good. Okay. So thanks again for coming today. I'm really excited because I have a new remote control device and I'm going to use it. So our goal today is to talk about tagging as a business tool, in effect, and then also to look at how tagging and feeds tie into the Common Good, the new Common Good website, and how by harnessing our collective knowledge, we can actually by harnessing our individual knowledge, we can create a collective knowledge bank that is of use to us. Now, this is an idea that you're going to start to hear a lot more about as we move ahead. So we're a little bit at the kind of the early part of the curve here in this conversation. And, you know, for those of you that are sort of knowledgeable about Twitter now, you might remember that 18 months ago, we didn't really know what it was, most of us, but we were talking about here at the Media Mavens. And, you know, here at the Media Mavens, we might not always be the ultimate experts, but one of the things that we're pretty good at doing is sort of looking out on the horizon to see what's coming and then trying to figure out what it means. And we don't just do that alone, we do that as part of really a group think. So there are some of you who have experience with these resources that we're going to be looking at. So I have a little performance anxiety because I know some of you are deep into these things. But feel free to, you know, hop in if you have an experience that's useful here. So I think all of us have the experience of the Firehose experience, that there is just increasingly more data coming across our desks. There's more pictures, there's more video, there's more email. You know, the lag time of getting responses back from people's email, you know, you send an email you don't hear and you think, oh my gosh, maybe they just missed it. And a lot of times we do miss it because there's so much of it. So the experience that I'm having is not that different than the experience any of us are having. This is true for everyone. And now the internet is really called the real-time internet, right? It's not just some static, it's not some highway where you're driving by billboards anymore. You're on the rapids and you're going pretty fast. So I think that this is actually an apt metaphor of the fire hose. Ken said, well, are we going to talk about tagging? Well, in a way, we are going to talk about tagging because we as human beings have a need to sort and organize information. Now, some of us are I'm not going to say better at sorting. Some of us are more compulsive about sorting than others, right? You know, there's three types. I read a book once, and it was a great book, and it said, well, be sure before you marry somebody to find out if they are a person who likes to toss stuff, right? They like the clean desk, the clean house, get all the stuff out of the house. Or they're the person who likes to accumulate stuff. And if they accumulate certain things like turtles and pigs and, you know, Yankees paraphernalia. Or if they're the person, which is like me, they accumulated a lot of stuff, but they put it in containers. So you're never really sure how much stuff they have. So, you know, you'll find that, you know, under here, there's a lot of things, and we have a lot of things socked away in containers. And so in a way, what we're talking about today is putting your stuff in containers so that you can find it when you want it, and that other people also can not only add to your containers, but find it if they want it. And information really has no value to us unless we can find it again, right? And turn it into knowledge and an asset for our organization or our personal life. So, you know, no story about new technology would be complete without the story about the old technology, which is, you know, we used to just consume information basically by talking to people or reading. How lovely. And if you're like my daughter or like any of us, when you had a part in the book that you wanted to save because there was some good information there, you would get a bookmark. And, you know, some of it's like our princess bookmarks, but you would bookmark your page or your place, one place or many places. Well, then what happened is that there are a lot of books, and they need to be organized, because we now no longer have just our own personal collection of books, but there are the communal collection of books known as the library. And so the librarians developed a very special language amongst themselves, which very few of us really understand, but we're thankful to them because they've done this. They've organized knowledge using numbers. They created the Dewey Decimal System. And there is a logic here, and we're not going to go into the logic, but the main point is that there is a logic and a discipline to this organizing of data and information, right? And it's called taxonomy. It's a kind of taxonomy. It's a kind of formal, hierarchical organization of information. And we, as I said, are thankful that there are people that invented this and maintain it on our behalf, because it means that when we go to the library, we could find books. Now, if they were taken out and they weren't there, you're kind of out of luck. So when I was in high school or grammar school and I went to the library, a lot of times books weren't there, so I couldn't really do my report. Or the microfiche. Remember microfiche? Some people might remember that. I mean, you would look at pictures of newspapers that had been taken. So in any event, we were very involved in other people's organization of data for our benefit. Well, now there's this world, and this is a very typical view, and in fact, a more typical, increasingly typical, is you don't even have something that's this big. You have a little mobile device, and so your ability to access information has accelerated. So we know that. But when we are sitting in our lounge chair and we are going through this information that we have, we also have the inclination and the need to bookmark and identify and capture this information so we can find it again. So you might find something at the CCTV site that you want to save and go back to another time, or a New York Times article, or a YouTube video. You know, we want to capture the different kinds of content, right? It's no longer just text. It's multiple multimedia kinds of content. And so this might be familiar to some of you. You might use your computer to bookmark, right? How many people create bookmarks in their computer to save and find things? Okay. So most of us pretty much have developed this habit and this practice of bookmarking. And what bookmarking basically does is it saves the address of the location where the web video is, or the CCTV news article, the New York Times article. It saves that, and it's called a URL, Universal Resource Locator. Okay, that's the address. And it also offers you an opportunity to provide a description, so when you go back to it, you can find it. It also allows you to do something which is really starts to make the information more valuable. It allows you to put keywords. Which way am I pressing? Keywords. Okay, so this concept of keywords is what really we're going to be talking about today. When we talk about tagging, we're talking really about keywords. That's something we sort of know. And why is a keyword valuable? Tell me why would you put a keyword on? Carmen?
Sorting. For sorting.
So at a later date, you could find this data.
Categorizing, yeah.
And categorize it in a way that was very personal to you, and it would allow you to find it in any number of contexts. Okay? Yes?
You might have forgotten that you ever bookmarked it, and so if you're looking for the keyword, it comes up something you saw a year or two ago that you didn't remember, and now, oh, it's just what you wanted.
Exactly. And, you know, you might, the mood that you're in on that particular day, you might be looking for something that you tagged Italian food, or you might be looking for something that you tagged marinara sauce, right? So, you know, you think of sort of the broadest words that you might use so that you can find it at a later time, right? So these keywords are great. And this is a very helpful way of kind of putting everything in a basket and sorting it, except that it only lives on your computer. So that when you go to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas and you want to find that resource, but you didn't bring your computer, you can't find it. You don't have access to it. So when you add this bookmarking with the cloud computing, in other words, there are servers in the world that other people store things for us, we can start to access our data from other locations other than our personal desktop or laptop. All right, so I'm going to tell you my little story about when I learned about tagging. And I can't remember when it was, except it was at least 4 years ago, maybe 5. And I was in a workshop at the N10 conference. And the N10 is an organization, as you know, I'm a big fan of. It is an organization of technical people that have helped nonprofits use technology, and nonprofits who are interested in innovative technology. And it also, the tech circuit writers at a certain point merged with the e-philanthropists and created a pretty big, robust annual event called the NTC. This year it's in Atlanta. In the first week of April, we're going, and one of the Media Mavens is going to be a report on that conference. But anyway, so there's the N10 plug. So I was at an N10 conference, and I walked into a workshop on tagging. And I sat there for about an hour, and I had no idea what anyone was talking about. But everyone else did, because it was all this very inside baseball. It was the definition of inside baseball. And I thought, okay, there's something here, but I'm not really getting it. So I had to sit down with somebody who showed me Delicious. Now let's talk about Delicious, because once I started to use Delicious, I got it about tagging and its value as a community enterprise and as an efficient business practice. And I really haven't looked back since. I love Delicious. This is my, sort of all the social media applications, this is my favorite. And it's my favorite because I do a lot of research for the purpose of explaining to people what's happening. So Delicious is a big, call it computer bank in the sky, where you can bookmark your resources. And this is the home page of Delicious as of last night. And what this shows us is that as of last night, the most recent bookmarks that had been done by the millions of people that are using Delicious, they had posted here and they had tagged them: YouTube, video, HTML5, web blog. They had put up their own tags, right? All of these resources, you've got the name, you've got the URL, and you've got the tags. And then you can see how many people also tagged, which starts to indicate that there's a community of people that are doing this, not just you by yourself in your living room. And so when you do tags, and I'm going to dig into Delicious in a minute to show you how it works, but when you do this tagging, you're not using the Dewey Decimal System. You're making up these keywords based on what is of interest to you. There is no hierarchy, okay? It is just this big cloud of tags, ultimately. And it's called a tag cloud. And it has also got another name, which is folksonomy. So what we are doing when we describe our web resources with our own words is we are doing not taxonomy, but we are doing folksonomy. Now, I love this word because when you think about it, it means people naming things, right? Folksonomy. It's not the librarians. You don't have to have a degree. You just put the keywords that you want on the resources that you care about. And folksonomy develops. It's the result of personal free tagging of pages and objects so you can retrieve them the way you want them. It's something you've been doing personally, but now we're all doing it, and all our tags can live in these common locations, like Delicious. Tagging is usually done in a social environment, shared and open to others, and the act of tagging is done by the person consuming the information. So it is not done by the librarian. It is done by us. So this is a core concept, which is why I'm spending some time on it. But the word folksonomy, I think, is a very powerful one because it raises a lot of issues. I mean, if you're calling it marinara sauce, and I'm calling it, you know, Mom's meat sauce, right? You're calling it tomato sauce. I'm calling it meat sauce. We mean the same thing, right? But we don't know we mean the same thing because we've named things differently. So there are issues that come up around folksonomy and common names that you got to kind of get together in a group. If you're going to name something together, you have to come to some agreements. And if we have time, we'll talk about sort of how that happens. But it's folksonomy, not having a hierarchical information sometimes creates issues, but it also creates huge, vast stores of information that can now be sorted through. All right, so last night, I'm getting ready for this, and I look up tagging. I'm doing some internet searching on tagging. Because the one thing we all like, don't we, is example. I can tell you about folksonomy till I'm blue in the face, but what you want is example. So I thought, okay, here's an example. Now this is really an interesting example of tagging. And as I said, I'm going to go into the mechanics of Delicious in particular, but bear with me here for a minute as we look into this example. Haiti quake, you can help tag photos from Haiti to help find people who are missing, basically.
That's amazing. Yeah,
It's amazing. So let's just look at it for a second. There is a site which some of you might be familiar with called the Extraordinaires. And the idea behind this site is that young people, but all people, with mobile devices can help do things in very short bits of time. So typically a project that you might sign up to do in the Extraordinaires is to look at pictures from collections of art museums and add tags to them based on what you see in the picture. Okay? But here, what this project is about is that you are going to be able to tag pictures from Haiti that have not yet been categorized. And if lots of people just spend a couple minutes doing this, it's going to take a lot less time than one person doing it for 3 months. Okay? And where I learned about this idea, which of course, you know, is now known as crowdsourcing, you know, there's a name for this, it's called crowdsourcing, is when I heard about the project Green Media Toolshed, another incredibly great resource. What they did, and I've mentioned this before, is they had environmental organizations had media lists. And everybody's media list was either out of date or whatever. And they said, all right, all the national environmental organizations, put your media lists into this basket. They made one giant Excel sheet, essentially, of everybody's data. And then they sent out a message to their volunteers, and they said, if you have 7 minutes, come here and update this media list. So if you had 7 minutes, you were given a piece of the media list that was local. It was Burlington, Vermont. And you were asked to put what you knew about the correct media contacts. So they figured that instead of it taking 2 people a year to do, within 3 months, they had this updated national media list. So you see sort of the idea here. This is the same idea. So what happens here is that you sign up to do the mission. The type of activity is photo tagging. And then you're given pictures that you are asked to describe. Now they've created a format for it. They're not just sort of saying, describe the picture. They're asking you some questions. Is this photo directly related to the Haiti quake? They ask you other questions. Are there people in it? Are these people alive or dead? If these people, what kind of people are they? Are they men? Are they women? Are they children? Are they old people? Is this building still standing? Is this building in rubble? So those are the questions that you are asked to simply answer. So last night I did 5 of them. It took me very little time. I felt I had done something. Essentially, what happens is that this information, these pictures, then get sent to the next group of people who can then sort all the pictures and say, where are the pictures where you've got a clear vision of somebody who's alive? Because we're going to take those pictures out, and then you can then start to match them with people that you might know, right? So people who are looking for people in Haiti then have a much smaller base of pictures that they have to sort through in order to find the people that they want. So then what you end up with is these pictures that tell you, yes, this is a quake photo, there are people in it, their face is visible. So they can then just pull out all the visible face pictures from this. This is not a quake photo. Now, there's a little, I had a little trouble because I didn't know what the source of the pictures were, so I wasn't always clear on whether it was a quake photo or not. It wasn't clear to me. But for the most part, you can, on a higher level, do a lot of sorting. And then what you have is a sort of result, which is that you've got 44,000 tags submitted, 7 people were matched, and 723 searches were made as of last night on this data. And you can help sort and tag. You can match missing people to sorted images. and you can search the image for a missing person. So through a kind of type of tagging, you're now creating a collective knowledge base that can be used to help people in a critical situation. Yes?
Does it go through enough people that it doesn't get corrupted with wrong information? Like if each person was looking at something and didn't know and just put yes or no, and the same person, somebody did that each consecutive time, isn't that getting wrong information?
Well, I think what happens, and I know that this happened with that database that I talked about, is that they didn't rely on just one person doing it. So you might have picked up the part of Burlington, and I might have picked up the part of Burlington of that list, and we did it. And then at a certain point, that data would be compared, and if it was the same, it would be kept, and if it wasn't, it would be thrown out until the proper information was gotten. So there's some behind-the-scenes things happening here, and my guess is that more than one person gets a shot of the coding of these pictures. And then there's some comparison that gets done for this kind of backup. Because the wisdom of the crowd isn't really the wisdom of one person. It's sort of, it has to go through the filter of more than one person. Right. We're going to keep going on this, but I thought this was a kind of a good example of what ultimately the value of tagging in a way that we don't always think about when we're sitting in our laptops bookmarking our stuff. This is really the direction of harnessing the collective knowledge, not just information, but knowledge of groups of people. And when you start to reflect on it, it's very powerful. And we just are at the very, very beginning of understanding how to use this. But we can do it because digital information can be counted, numbered, and named in a way that books and analog information is not. I love books and analog information, don't get me wrong, but there's a different value here. Okay, so I told you my story about looking at this data, and then I said, okay, I want to tag that. I want to save that, because I want to tell you guys about it tomorrow. So what I have, and I don't have in this, I'd like to have sort of one of those things that light up, but up in the top, I think actually I did it, yeah. So up in the top, I had downloaded from the Delicious site this little toolbar, this little mini toolbar that is embedded in my browser that makes it easy for me to tag things in Delicious, because I love Delicious so much, I feel that that's useful for me to have. And you can do it too, and it's pretty easy. This way I don't have to keep going back to the Delicious site to do these actions that I want to take. And so I click that button, that little tag button, see it? And this is what happens. I get this window, and this is my bookmarking opportunity, right? And it automatically includes the URL on the top, the web address under URL. It automatically includes the title. You can always edit any of these fields. You can add notes about what this is. This is the thing that I showed my friends at Media Maven. And then I tagged it. Now, a lot of these resources have already been tagged by someone, and so they come with recommended tags, because someone's already tagged this. And this is the tags they used. And so it says, well, you might want to use those tags too. So there's some of them. Actually, I think I might be the only person that tagged it. But in another world, in another resource, there are other tags that other people used. And so I might choose those, or I might add my own. And these were the tags that I chose. I now tag everything NPVT because I want it to end up on the Common Good website. Okay, so NPVT is just sort of a universal tag that I'd like everybody to bore into their brain, because when you start using Delicious, hopefully you will think it's useful for the broader community, not just you. So we're going to talk about how this resource gets shared with the broader community in the Common Good land, but I always put that everywhere. Because this workshop is about tagging, I tagged it, tagging, crowdsourcing, Maven, because I like to look up things based on what I've saved from Mavens, social media, micro-volunteering, because that's another thing that this is about, is volunteering, and volunteer. So those were the words that came to mind. Now, you could spend a lot of time coming up with words, but the question is, what's going to be useful? What are you really looking for? What are your interest areas, right?
I
Yes, Ken.
knew this there's a couple of Montpelier that they were making a killing taking stock photos of things. They travel the world, take a picture of a telephone pole, and they would sell a photo every once in a while for, I forgot how many thousands of dollars, or it was something like substantial. And they said it's all in the tags, and they would like tag each photo like 100 tags. And they figured out how to make a living just going around taking pictures of whatever.
So that then people could find them. So the key was there. What's the key of that story?
Tagging.
It's easy. So that picture by itself isn't valuable unless the people who might be interested can find it. So the way you connect with the people who are interested in those things is by tagging it and trying to think the way they would think. Folksonomy, that's, you know, this is not taxonomy. This is sort of getting into the mind of the market, right? Yes, Ellen?
So how do you feel about spelling the things wrong because you assume that others will spell it wrong? Like if you sell on eBay and you're going to sell a Hannah Anderson thing, you probably want to spell it right and spell it wrong because you want the people who don't know how to spell to find it too. So, but there's an instinctive reaction against that, to spreading that improper spelling. I'm just curious.
I think that's a really good point. And I think that that is a clever thing to spell it right and spell it wrong, because Hannah Anderson, where are the H's and where are the S's in that, you know. We all know that. Anybody who buys clothes for small children, that, you know, once in a while, because it's an expensive site. But yeah, I mean, that's, or on eBay. So, you know, I think that that's a very good point about getting into the mind of the market. You know, you want to have sort of the broadest number of people find it. And, you know, Google will do that for you when you search Google. Did you mean Hannah Anderson if you've spelled it wrong? So it will auto-correct. So there are improvements within the searching tools that allow some misspelling, right? I mean, the system is getting smarter. And at the end, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about where this is actually all going. But it's about, you know, the whole direction of the internet and what everyone is working, all the numeratis, right? There's like a world of these people called numeratis. Their whole purpose in life is to make your internet experience completely customized for you, because it becomes more valuable the more specific to your needs. Now, there's a downside to that, right? There's the blessings and the burdens of the information age. It gets very specific, and you can put a lot of information together about people so you know what it is that they want. But that's where it's going, and the way they're doing it is through tagging, basically. Yes?
I might be jumping ahead. Let me know, and you can answer it later. But since I don't see oh, there you go, at Twitter, I guess my question is I can't seem to wrap my brain around how, I understand how it relates, but how it relates in the computer. Like, since you're sending this information at Twitter, when it shows up on Twitter because of how maximum of words you can have, does the tags show up too after the title that you're sending to Twitter? Is it like a hash tagging, hash MPVT? Like, how does it work from Delicious?
So, you know, I have to admit to you that I don't use that feature.
Okay.
But let me just say what we're talking about here, what Sarah's talking about, is you see where it says send to Twitter? Okay. They've integrated with Twitter. This is in the last few months. And so if I wanted this link to go onto my Twitter feed, it would automatically, if I gave Delicious permission, it would send this link to the Twitter feed. This is going to go not to the common good unless I tell it to. This would go to my personal Twitter feed. And it would show up as a resource, just like I posted, I'm just going into the Maven Lunch today. And then, let's say I sent this to Twitter, it would say, tag photos from Haiti, would be my guess, is part of the title would show.
So not the URL?
And the URL.
And the URL.
Yeah.
But would
and
the tags show up, or is that kind of integrated in the system?
No, the tags wouldn't show up, because what it's about is letting people know you've tagged it, and then if they're interested in it, they would press it and get taken to the resource. They wouldn't get taken to Delicious, I don't think. Okay. I could be wrong, but because I don't use it, I don't have the answer to that. So, is anybody a little bit at sea and wants me to clarify something? Because we're going a little fast, and I just want to make sure I'm kind of everybody's kind of with me. It's okay if you are. I mean, it's head-spinning time we're in. Yes, Erin?
I'm assuming, Elin, I'm assuming that there's an easy way for you to see all your Delicious
I'm going to show you that now.
Okay.
Okay, so this is my Delicious world. And so let me just kind of break this down for you. Because, you know, again, you look at these things, you're like, oh my goodness, this is so overwhelming. But it's in pieces. So this is my account. You see my name up there. So this is LG Davidian's part of the Delicious universe. And these are all the things that I've tagged over the past 4 years. And remember the tag cloud. Now the thing about a tag cloud is the more that you tag something, the bigger the words get.
Oh.
So if you went down and we looked at strategic communications, it's giant, because pretty much I put a lot of things, everything in strategic communications. So you can see Twitter, you know, you can see the N10 conferences, it says NTC here, analytics, anthropology, I'm an anthropologist, big issue for me. You know, all of these things, Armenia, I mean, my personal interests, but also blogs, blogging, things that we talk about here. Yeah?
And do you go to that batch when you're tagging and say, what of these might I throw it into?
Well, if you were a Virgo, you would go in.
How would you know that about me?
I mean, you would check and you know, every once in a while you'd refresh your mind on those terms that you came up with.
I would not remember.
That's right. You might not always remember.
Age and Virgo, you know?
Well, there's that. So there, you know, this is sort of your little table of contents.
Right.
But also, tags have different contexts that so you might tag things multiple times, but I have a discipline where I tag everything NPVT now.
Right.
Right.
But, and I'm talking about the sort of the next level down, or the next
Right.
funnel down.
Joel?
Okay.
I use Delicious also, and I usually find that when I go to tag something, it shows me tags that I've used before of my own.
That's right. It is a little smart.
That helps also.
It is a little smart. So if I put down tag, it told me I also had done things tagging. And I actually had 14 keywords called tagging already. So I think...
And they're like blogging, blogs.
Right. Those things, right. So really I should consolidate those, but I haven't.
Because you're not a Virgo.
Because well, I am, I guess. I found out.
So when you put the tag NPVT, you put the pound symbol before that?
You don't have to with Delicious. With Twitter, you use a pound sign. It's called a hashtag. And that's another way of tagging things. And we'll look at Twitter in a sec.
So,
Go ahead.
Say I have an article on the Good News Garage website.
Yes.
And would it make sense in the meta tag of that page to put NPVT?
It would be great, because we would then, I'll show you, but we would then suck it into the Common Good site, because the Common Good site's looking for things tagged NPVT.
Because I put the pound symbol before.
That's fine. Pound sign's fine.
Are you talking about on Delicious, or are you talking about in the keyword tag of the page?
I posted a story on our website, and in the back end of the website, in the meta tags, I put pound MPVT.
Okay. Well, our Common Good basket is looking for anything that's got pound MPVT or NPVT. It's looking for both. So just to clarify for people, and we'll look at Twitter in a second, but when you want to sort through all the Twitter content, you use a tagging tool called a hashtag, which is a pound sign. And I'll show you that in a second. Yes?
Is it only Twitter that we're going beyond? Because now we want to tag everything
Yeah.
from what you're telling us, and which makes total sense. Is that a universal HTML code, though, is pound? I mean, is that what it's the Internet's going to know that you're tagging something? I mean, obviously not Delicious. There's other places like Flickr and those things. They have little boxes that you just write in tags. But for anything else, like if you're just writing something, is it a universal?
That's a good question, and I think it depends on the aggregating basket and what it's looking for.
Okay.
So let me just, I would need to research that one. Okay. I think it's a good question. But I think what happens is so now what we're talking about, just to clarify for the group, is that right here I have a very personal, I'm back to my personal bookmarks, right? But these can be shared with the world, because other people might be tagging things called social media. And I want to find other things that people have done for social media. So let me just walk through the Delicious thing for a second. Let me finish the delicious thing, because I might answer some of your questions in here, and then we'll take questions on delicious. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So just to say, you've got my account, you've got my tag cloud, everything I've tagged. You've got my particular posts, which are listed chronologically in the order that I posted them. I can also click on any one of these words, and I would get just the things that I had tagged that particular word, right? And you can also see how many other people have tagged, which is, I think, as I said, really important. So 427 other people have tagged the tag cloud definition in Wikipedia, right? But
That's cute.
right? Sorry?
If you click on that, will it go to those people that tagged it?
You could actually, I think you can find the other people that have tagged. It would be kind of labor intensive, but it can be done. You can find those people. Wait one sec, okay? Just, what else do I have there? Okay. There are 3 ways that Delicious sorts tags for the public, the world, actually more than that, but 3 primary ways. You can look on its homepage for fresh bookmarks, the most recent ones. You can look at for popular bookmarks, so the most popular bookmarks on Delicious right now, and I imagine that was probably a 12-hour time frame, maybe a 24-hour time frame. 25 tutorials and resources for learning jQuery. Okay, I mean, this can get a little esoteric, which is what is kind of great about it, is you can get esoteric. We're not talking, and Nick made this point, you're not talking about, you know, the thing that everybody's going to read. This is not the broadcast TV model. This is a very hyper-local, hyper-detailed model. And then this is the tagging. You can look at what the most people have tagged. So you can look at it from the point of view of what is the most tags that are used, not the most URLs that have been tagged. Okay, these are the number. This is the most popular bookmarks. This is the most popular tags. So there's 3 ways to kind of slice what is happening in the mind of the Delicious world. And peer-to-peer, is that P2P? Mm-hmm. That's sharing. I mean, this is a very wonky kind of group of people here that like this tag and that are using this and sharing this, which sort of shows you.
Would you say this is nerd heaven?
This is nerd heaven, but this is nerd heaven. But I would also say it's got a value for the non-nerds. That's why, you know, the nerds are at the front. You know, they're the lead pack. They're the early adopters. We're all going this way. We just don't know it yet, right? And I would just like to point out that there's another way to look at the tag cloud, and that is as a list. So you can also look at all your tags in a list format if you like lists, right? And it will be in order of the most popular, right? So then you can find other users. Now, I just want to say something about this. I'm not going to get heavily into it because this is something you want to go in there and look at. I could spend a lot of time teaching on it, but you're going to learn better on your own on this one. But so I'm working on a project. I'm working on a grant proposal on transportation in Chittenden County. And I'm working with lots of different people. Megan's working on that with me. Kathleen's working on it with me. Nick's working on it with me. And we're in the research phase of getting this proposal together. We all have Delicious accounts. We've all decided that we're going to use a common tag. And the common tag is going to be Chit Trans, right? Chittenden County Transport. Chit Trans, something short that no one else really is going to use. So the 4 of us, create a group, a network, right? And then we use that tag. And then we're able to see all of the resources that we in that little network put together for that grant proposal. So it's not sitting on Nick's computer and Kathleen's computer and Megan's computer. It's sitting in a common basket where all those resources are put together.
And how did you just get to that? Where was that?
I went to people.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then I went from people to network. And this allows me to add users to the network. Now I have to say to you, I like that idea, but I haven't used it that way because I'm sort of a lone wolf user, but I think Joel might have used it that way.
Actually, I haven't, and I'm trying to figure out if you tag everything Chit Tran, what difference does it make whether you're in a network or not? You're going to find those tags.
Yes, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. It may be. That's absolutely right. So there are 4 of us. We decide we're going to use that tag. We can just find that tag. If I want to do other projects with those people, then being in a network becomes useful because we are using different tags, but we're connected as humans in a network of people that are in a pod working together. So that's a good point. Yes, Maggie, thank you. Sorry. Thanks for waiting.
No, that's, some of it was answered. But is that, if I wanted to go online and look at all your bookmarks, is that something I can do?
Yeah. You go.
So does a network, let's say you're not the only one going for that grant, is a network secure that you could limit the viewing to just those people?
You could have a private network or a public network. So you have the option to make it public or private.
And so you could tag things.
So if you guys were working on a project on, energy, renewable energy, and you didn't want, anybody else but your guys to, you would create a private network in Delicious, and then you would all have access. You would be part of that network, but it would be closed, so no one else would actually even know you had that network, and that data could be safe. Could be very personal to the network. You can do that with your tags too. You can make them public or private, because you might want to bookmark your bank. I mean, I would never do this public or private myself. I mean, you want to be able to get to your bank login, and you forget it all the time, right? You might bookmark it, but you want that to be private. So you have to be careful of stuff that you bookmark and whether it's public or private. But from a work standpoint, you can create a private group.
So, but if you're tagging things, I'm stuck on the concept between public and private and how, I mean, if you want to tag publicly but you want some of it to remain private, how do you?
I think that's not a question I can actually answer off the top of my head, but I think that this page, which talks about creating networks, add a user to the network, there's a lot of stuff below it that will answer some of those questions.
We specifically haven't used Delicious to bookmark anything because I think it would, in some ways, like if Arnie was bookmarking all these things, and if that is totally public, then there would be, on one hand, there's a positive in that people want to see what he's looking at in terms of nuclear, but on the other hand, when he's an expert witness, then they would like to have that list, Mr. Gunderson, why are you looking and tagging at all these things? Because they're constantly trying to impeach him.
I understand.
So that's what I wrestle with.
I think that's a good question, and I would just dig a little bit more down here to find out if it actually suits the needs. Because, these proprietary issues, I mean, I'm not sure if any of you, just as an example, in my searching last night, I found this article, 3 things that you need to do if you're a Facebook user. Well, Facebook changed their privacy settings in the beginning of the year, or in December, and we all got this thing that said, do you want to change your privacy settings? And may not have looked at it that closely. Well, all of a sudden, all your personal Facebook stuff is now searchable by Google. Now, you want to go back in and you want to make sure that only your friends or your friends of friends, which is a huge group, so just maybe only your friends, can access your personal information.
Yeah.
Right? So it's I tagged that actually. You can find it on my bookmarks under Facebook. Because you want to go and check your settings. So I'm bringing that up because it's a similar kind of problem, is that this social sphere is very beneficial and efficient, but it also creates privacy. There are serious privacy issues in all of these things. Yes?
So on Delicious, it's the same question, but not pertaining to a network.
Yeah.
You want a Delicious account because you want to be able to access your bookmarks from any computer.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be sharing those bookmarks with anybody else. Like you're saying, is it when you're looking at that page and you can put your tags in, or is it an overall privacy thing when you set up your profile? You'd be like, these are all private, I don't want anyone else to be able to look these up. Is it per item you're bookmarking, or is it overall privacy?
My gut on that is it's both. So that you could have public profile and private tags. I think that's true.
Okay.
But I would need to check that.
Yeah.
These are good questions.
But otherwise, when you put a tag in, you have the option of making it private or public.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
you
no.
Yeah,
As you add a tag, yeah.
Okay.
that's right. Yes.
One other question, like a lot of the things that I bookmark, I don't bookmark them, but I make PDFs because there's a lot of press and things, and they're gone in 7 days, or you have to pay in 7 days.
Yeah.
And this won't, I mean, that still remains the same.
If the link expires, then
Yeah.
the link expires.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
but there's sometimes they have those Dura links that will maintain even if, and then also Internet Archive. You know, Internet
My
Archive.
next question, I don't know what that is.
Well, Internet Archive is the brainchild of a guy, very wealthy guy. From where? Do we remember where he's from? Anyway, he made a big fortune, decided he was going to save everything that had ever been on the Internet. And so the Internet, basically, you can submit your website to be saved. So you could go to the old CCTV website on Internet Archive and find it. Crazy, but true. So that's what Internet Archive is, and what they have there are all websites, and they have, you know, for example, Mark Johnson, my husband, put up a little video, a little audio thing of his trip to China on Public Radio Exchange, which is a public radio exchange site, and it's on Internet Archive. And he did it 2 years ago, and he went and he found himself, and he was there, and he hadn't even done it, but PRX obviously had archived all their stuff there.
What does that guy's basement look like, I wonder?
I know. What's his brain look like? My gosh. So, any other questions on Delicious? We're going to sort of hop to a couple other examples. Yes, Elin.
It almost seems like it's for us in our case. You know, my boss has 25,000 things in his inbox and can't be. It's not going to work for him. But our clientele, we're trying to build a community of families, and you know, most of them are vegetarian and they have kids, and so it seems like it might be something that you would use to create a community across space that isn't necessarily technical at all. That's very, very family oriented.
I'm going to talk about this in a minute about aggregators. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few more examples of things you can tag, and then I'm going to just give you a few clues about how you create community with those tags. Okay? Yes?
How do you find these tags? Is there another way besides going to Delicious?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that in a minute. That's a good question. Carmen?
I'm assuming you're going to talk about the Common Good website and how it all comes in.
I am. I'm going to do all that in 25 minutes. I mean, this is very dense. I mean, even talking about it, I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, this is dense. There's a lot here. So what I'm really trying to do is kind of open the door, and then you've got to just play around with it. It's like that room that I was in where they were talking about tags, and I had no idea what it was. But finally, when I sat down with Delicious, there I am, you know, at the JFK JetBlue Hub, tagging like crazy, like a born-again person, you know. I mean, it's a great thing if you, for example, there's some different settings that you might use Delicious tags. If you're at a conference, right, and people are talking, and you want to save the references that they're talking about, it's a great tool. So you can keyword it all the things that pop in your head, but you could also keyword it the event that you're at, like the N10 conference, NTC09 or NTC10. So then the N10 conference ends up with this big sort of basket of things that have been tagged in relation to its event. And it couldn't have done that on its own. You know, it reflects the collective knowledge of that event. Or if you have a community that's not a situation-specific community, but a ongoing learning community or cultural community, there's a way you can do that. Now, Delicious tags are not the only thing that you would do. And we'll look at some other things. So crowdsourcing is sort of the key concept. And I brought this up at the Common Good annual meeting, but I think it's just a really good, you know, opportunity to kind of breathe for a second and then read this, because this is what we're doing and where we're going. You know, Wikipedia is impossible, but it's here. It's one of those things that are impossible in theory, but possible in practice. And once you confront the fact that it works, you have to shift your expectation of what else is possible in theory might also work in practice. So again, it is perfectly fine that this is kind of an anxiety-producing, oh my gosh, what is this period of time? Because we are really at the very beginning. Now, of course, when I went to do this workshop, I went to Wikipedia and I looked up tagging, and I encourage you to also do the same thing, because it's a very good, cogent description of what we're talking about today. And it talks about different kinds of tagging, hashtags being one of the kinds of tagging, okay? So, the most common thing that you're likely to tag is pictures, right? How many people have Flickr accounts? And how many folks use a Flickr for their organizations? Okay, so Flickr. I'm not going to go into the how-to because it's actually pretty straightforward. You have your pictures on your laptop. You have your pictures on your camera. You put them into your laptop. Pictures are ready to go. You go to Flickr. You create an account. You have to be a Yahoo, create a Yahoo account because Yahoo bought Flickr. Okay? And you say, you go to an uploading box. It says, you want to upload your pictures? You say, I want to upload my pictures. It says, do you want to tag these anything? And you say, oh yes, I want to tag those. And maybe I want to tag them any of these words. So these are just sample tags that people used. Fall, autumn, trees, foliage. Now, when you go to Flickr and you type in fall, you're going to find all the pictures that anybody tagged fall. Not just yours, not just the ones in Vermont, everybody's pictures that they might have tagged fall. So you end up with this incredible collection of pictures. I'm going to just escape from here because I want to just show you the Haiti pictures. And what's really interesting about the Haiti pictures is that what you can also do with Flickr is create groups. Haiti. So lots of people have been posting. A lot of the people, so there are pictures that obviously have been here from before the earthquake, beautiful parts of Haiti, lovely. But now we're starting to see these Haiti pictures. And there is, I wonder if it's going to show. All right, so there are particular collections. One of the collections is the U.S. military. So the U.S. military has all these pictures that they've tagged Haiti that are basically pictures from the boats and pictures of the boats and pictures of the troops and, and pictures people helping. These are two sort of groups that Flickr is sponsoring, the Getty Images Collection and the Commons. So they're doing this project with Getty where they've taken the entire archive of Getty photos and put them online so that you can find them. Your ability to use these pictures are limited by the person who has posted them. Okay? So a lot of it is just to look at, but some of them are public domain, and you can use these pictures. Very few of them I have found are public domain. You can't really go to Flickr and use pictures for a presentation. They're not really that excited about that.
Lauren?
Yes?
What's the difference between like Flickr and Bing for photos?
Is Bing the Microsoft thing?
I guess,
or Bing,
I don't know.
Yeah, Bing's the Microsoft thing?
Bing is a search.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was looking for photos for some web pages that I'm working on, and I couldn't find what I needed on Flickr, but so that would make sense why I got it on Bing then. Somebody said to me, look on there, and I got all these photos, and they were for free.
Yeah, and Google Images is the
really
other.
Good images that I needed.
Yeah. I use Google Images because I don't
Google
use that.
Images?
But Google, all the pictures I have from here are from, I always use Google Images. I love it. It's just like the lady with the reading and the bookmarks. All those are from Google Images.
Okay.
So these pictures up here, some of you maybe heard talk about this. All of these pictures are from Flickr. This is the N10 conference. So N10 has a conference and they say to everybody, okay, everybody, the tag is NTC9, right? NTC10. Everybody who comes, we're telling you when you register, that's the tag we're using. Okay, tribe, go tag. And so people take pictures at the conference. They post it on Flickr. They tag it NTC09, plus they might tag it, my cute friend Gavin, right, whatever. And then what N10 does is it has a widget on its website that it pulls the pictures. And during the conference, these change really rapidly. And I've always, felt that that was a great thing for the Shelburne Farms of the world, or any nonprofit organization that wants to tell, the puppets tell the story, because Flickr has, remember, a widget is a little piece of code that you can put on your website that says, this is what the code says. Every time there's a new picture on Flickr that's coded NTC09, we're sucking it up. We want it in here. That's what that little piece of code says. And you can get it on Flickr. Flickr will make that available to you, and in different shapes. Just to say, you can have a, it can look like a multiple 3x5 square. It takes multiple forms. Yes?
I would think, though, if you had anything to do with families or kids, that
Yes.
you'd be getting in serious trouble
You need to be
trusting
careful.
other people to have permission to post people of other people's kids.
Absolutely, no question.
So,
Yeah, families and kids, absolutely. The Parks and Rec in South Burlington, they have a photo album, but you have to be a registered citizen of South Burlington to even look at them. So, yes, I agree. Again, that's sort of one of the ruts in the road. It's not all smooth sailing here with this. So Flickr is a really good example. And then, of course, Twitter is a really good example. Now, there's two ways that Twitter collects all these tags, okay? Because we've been talking a lot about tagging, and we've looked at delicious as a basket and different ways that you can look at it. But Twitter, okay, truly the real-time internet, right? Twitter has revolutionized how people think about this. Everybody's redesigned their platforms to accommodate Twitter. So if you're a Twitter user and you post and you have something to say about, you want other people who are interested in Haiti, you use, as we talked about before, this thing called a hashtag, which is essentially a fancy name for a £, and you put it into your post. And that way, you can, by way of Twitter, or any other number of what are called aggregators, which is a fancy word for a basket, you can find everything with that particular word. The tag for Burlington is BTV, right? The tag for Montpelier is MONT. So we could type any one of those up here, and we would see all the Twitter posts that people had posted that they wanted other people who cared about Montpelier or cared about Burlington to have access to, and in this case, Haiti. So Twitter does two things. It will aggregate anything with a £, so you can search on that, right? It also will filter, independently of our action of using the £, any word that says Haiti. So you can also type in Haiti, and anything that says Haiti in it can be found. So there's two things happening. There's the wisdom of the crowd, tagging stuff, and then there's the smartness of the platform, which pulls these tags based on these words. So I don't know if some of you remember, but during the presidential campaign, Twitter had this bar on the top of its landing page, and every time somebody posted something with the word Obama, McCain, Palin, Democrat, Republican, it would get pulled up in front of you at an alarming rate. I mean, it was so fast because people are posting. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. And then Current TV did a mashup, an intersection of that Twitter feed with the debates. So you could, while you were watching the debates, you could see what everybody was saying about these candidates, because what Twitter was looking for was any one of those words. Does that make sense, Megan? Yeah.
And if it makes sense to me, everyone else.
She's my Mikey. Megan's my Mikey. Nick?
Well, I just wanted to point out how one of the most attractive things about Flickr and Twitter tagging is that it allows a lot of people who don't traditionally have access to traditional media. It gives you a voice that wasn't really available up until very recently. As in, traditional news sites will go through, they'll search Twitter feeds, they'll search BTV, and they'll produce news articles based on the information they've found out through Twitter. So, for a lot of us, one of our most important mission-critical needs is a voice. I mean, it's influence. We're not necessarily looking for monetary profits, but we're looking to broaden our sphere of influence over a community. And these tools and through tagging, just knocks down a lot of barriers that were present up until very, very recently. For example, I had a friend she's an amateur photographer. She tagged her Flickr pictures, Vermont, outdoor Vermont. She took some pictures in Craftsbury. They ended up on the cover of Life magazine, and now she's a paid photographer. And this was all from, her tagging, and so an agent for Vermont at Life magazine searched Flickr for pictures tagged Vermont. So, it's really changing how news is reported and giving a lot of, us smaller people a voice in a very crowded field.
Thank you, Nick. I think that's a good point. So I wanted to talk for a second before I break out to the common good, which I'm going to give you a speed workshop on, but I promise we'll do more deeper stuff on common good. We're going to start webinars on them pretty shortly on that site. But Tweems is a site that is it's an aggregator. Okay, so again, we're talking about this sort of basket, and Tweems doesn't really work that well anymore. But I haven't found anything else besides Tweems. So let me just talk about aggregators for a minute. So let's say that you're the common ground folks, and you have told everybody in the common ground that we're gonna tag things CGVT. Let's just say, which of course could conflict with somebody else's CGVT. So let's so you think that, and then you say, well, we got to do something that's actually unique. So let's call it CGVT4. You're going to come up with a tag that's unique, that you're pretty sure no one else is going to use. So you've tagged your delicious. You've said to people, tag your delicious stuff. You've said tag your pictures. You've said tag your video, and then you say, where are we going to show all this stuff? Okay, because all this tagging's been done, and that's really nice. But what basket is it going to live in where I can go to one place and see everything that everyone in that community has tagged? So one way to do it is have your website be a recipient of all those tags to show, and another are these public aggregators. Now, Tweems, when it's working, which it doesn't work reliably, and it's very unfortunate because it's the only good example that I have, you would type in Haiti here. And when it's working, which it hasn't for the last 24 hours, to my chagrin, anything with that tag Haiti that was a delicious tag, that was a delicious tag, that was a Twitter post, or is a Flickr picture, would show up on a landing page here that shows you all the delicious posts with that tag, all the delicious posts with that tag, all the Twitter posts with that tag, and all the pictures with that tag. Okay? So you have to kind of visualize with me because it's not working very well. But you could put it NTC09, and you would see all the delicious posts that people made at the conference, all the Twitter posts that they chattered about at the conference, and all the photographs that they did. So it's an aggregator. There may be, but I have not yet found, something comparable to Tweems that's a public basket.
Do you know about Tweet Meme?
Tweet Meme. Yeah, let's look at it.
I just came upon it the other day. And I've been playing with it a little bit, so I don't know.
What I have found, and we'll just take a look at that, is that there are personal aggregators. In other words, there are sites, and I bookmark them on Delicious for you, where you can, as a human, as a person, rather than as an organization. I mean, you could do it as an organization, I imagine, of course, but it's a very personal aggregator. So it's sort of your pictures, your delicious tags, your Twitter feeds, your YouTube videos, anything that you tag can be brought into this one place, and they're marketed as a way to manage your social media. That's how they're marketed. So Tweet Meme might be a sort of a variation on this, and we can look at it.
Bad news on top there.
Oh yeah. Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. Bad news.
Maybe good news. I don't know.
Pelosi pulls the plug on healthcare. So I know that's no good. Ted Kennedy would not be happy. All right. So I just want you to see this idea of an aggregator. And I'm going to hop right now to one more thing for you to be posting and tagging, and then I'm going to just show you common good. Okay? Is that all right? Is everybody all right? Sure? Sure? I know. It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, so here's another resource that we'd really like you to seriously start using. Okay? Again, you know, the sort of the subtext here is that these are business practices for you. You know, they're personal ways of tagging, organizing, but they're also business practices. And the Common Good site is a giant basket, and one of the ways that we can get your information to the broader community is for you to post your events on this Yahoo upcoming site. Because the thing about the Common Good site is that it doesn't have content of its own on it, right? It all depends on people's content that you decide to tag. So Common Good site is nothing without us tagging things and posting them.
What is the event tag that it picks up?
NPVT.
Oh, so it's just
NPVT. So I would really like to encourage you all to create upcoming accounts, and when you have an event, post it to upcoming, tag it NPVT, and we will suck it into the Common Good site. And this is really pretty straightforward business practice. You know, you open it, you create the account, you put in the description and the time and the date and the registration. People can tell you if they're coming or not, if you want to manage it that way.
You find, I'm sorry, you find this under the URL Common Good VT?
Common Good VT, yes. Let's look at that now. Okay?
But I mean, this...
You will find it. It will make its way there. I'll show you that.
Asking how to sign on to the
What's
Yahoo.
the URL?
Oh, this is
it's
Yahoo
Yahoo?
upcoming. It's
Okay, Yahoo.
Let's look. Good question. See, it's sort of the basics are pretty important, aren't they? You can get very big picture, but then you want to know how to do things.
So the URL is Yahoo upcoming?
Let's see what it is, Carmen, here.
Oh.
It's Yahoo. It's upcoming Yahoo. UpcomingYahoo.com. And we picked this rather than Google because it's just its front end is friendlier, and we could use it. And you can change this if you wanted to, you know, look at Upper Valley, if you wanted to look at San Francisco. I mean, you can look at this from any perspective. It's actually a pretty good tool of getting your word out about your events. Okay. So I'm going to go to Common Good Vermont right now. 6 minutes. All right. But I felt it was important to spend a little time on that tagging. Is that all right with everybody? That's no good. You know why? Well, it's not spelled right to start. And it needs a little bit more information. Yeah, that's really not spelled right. Right. CommonGoodVT.org. Now, the thing to just know, I have to make a disclaimer from the beginning about this site, is that because this is a dynamic website and it crunches information every time you make a request, it sometimes takes a little bit. You know, these are not static pages that have been pre-done. These are the product of all this data coming in. And I didn't spend a lot of time talking about feeds, but this site is driven not only by tags that we do in the community, but feeds from particular sources of information. A good example of a feed is New York Times. You want a New York Times article, you go to the New York Times Arts section, you say, I want to get articles from the New York Times in my inbox every day. That's basically called an RSS feed. And afterwards I can show you a little bit about that if you want to stay and see that.
Or if you have an iGoogle page, all those things are feeds.
Right. I feel the need to just show you this. New York Times, you want to get articles from different topics from the New York Times. You go to their RSS page, which is at the bottom, and then you basically click on these, or you create a reader, a basket for yourself where you want to take feeds from the Times, from Agency of Human Services, from Vermont Business Magazine, wherever, and you say, add a subscription. And you take that address from the New York Times or from whatever the address is for that particular feed, the location, you add it here, and then every time there's a new article or a new, VPR news, I mean, like lots and lots of sources have this button. You're looking for this button, you can pull it in and you can read it. If you wanted to find anything that had Kids on the Block in it, you could put in keywords and have any article with Kids on the Block come into this reader as well. Some people have a special reader. Some people integrate it with their email. There's a whole class on RSS and reading, but basically the point is that Common Good relies on tagging and also feeds from different sources. So let's just quickly go through this site. This is the intro. There should be a video how-to. It will be up there pretty soon. And these are Twitter posts from the Common Good world, tagged NPVT, which is a way of us getting sort of regular news and information to the community. What we heard from the nonprofit community is that we want to have networking opportunities and we want reliable information from trusted sources that is organized in basically these 4 ways. By topic, by nonprofit topic, by part of the world that we live in, geography, by sector that we're involved in, and then by anything we decide, folksonomy. Whenever we decide we want to tag things, we want to have the option to get to it. I'm just going to look here at all geographies. This is organized by county and kind of region, like Upper Valley you'll see here, but you'll see all the counties. And these are sort of the parent categories that you could sort on any one of these. And then these are all the towns that are connected to all of those bigger categories. Okay? So if we, for example, we could go to any one of these. Let's go to Chittenden County because that's where we are. It takes a minute to crunch. So what you would find here in Chittenden County is the lovely Nick. You would find a few things. Any upcoming events that you post, remember upcoming, would appear in here. Now, if you did a tag that said Chittenden County and NPVT, it would get pulled into Chittenden County. If you did a tag that said Upper Valley and NPVT, that could get directed specifically to Upper Valley. So I'm not trying to sort of burden you with tagging, but the more specific you're tagging, the correct place in events that it will go. Okay? So right now we're going to have to do a sort of a combination of keywords and your tags. But all the events for Chittenden County ideally will appear here. You can subscribe to the site. That's a beautiful thing. And then what we have here is a whole series of Twitter feeds from people in the Chittenden County area and organizations in the Chittenden County area. And we can add yours if you have one. So there's the Church Street Marketplace, United Way. You know, the people in this community, those are the 2 main ones I think we have right now. So you say to yourself, but mine's not there. Our organization has a great Twitter feed. We want it included. Tell us, and we'll put it in here. Okay?
So it's not just looking for the hash MPTV tag?
It can look for the hash MPV tag. Okay. It's also looking for concrete feeds. Because NPVT is sort of the big one. It's not region specific. Right. So we've sort of gone sort of back and forth about how to do it for the particular region. So for the moment, we're taking feeds. And then we have one giant basket that is tagged NPVT, and we can pull those into the common sites, not the town-specific sites. Right?
I just wanted to mention NPVT can get you in a geographic or a specific location site, but generally they go to that front page, the home page, that is that Twitter location.
The Twitter feed on the home page?
So, yeah, if you want your particular Twitter feed to go to a specific location, the best way is to let us know. If not, it'll just get filtered to the main home page's feed.
Who do we email to do that? Nick?
That'd be me.
Coordinator at commongoodvt.org is his name for this purpose. We're at 1:30, and there's obviously a lot more to say about this site. So what I'm going to actually do is stop and tell you a couple things to look for when you go back to your worlds. Okay. The first is news. This news is an aggregator of news from each one of major news sources that we think nonprofits are interested in based on what we've heard. And you see, again, it takes a while because it's crunching all the data. Connect is a place where nonprofit networks get to publicize themselves. So every week we publicize a new nonprofit organization or network. Let me just talk about news. So there's this sort of rotating news here, and then there's news that feeds in from these multiple sources that we've identified. And I'm happy to tell you what those sources are, but they basically are a combination of Vermont news and sector news. The Connect, if you have a network that you're involved in that you want us to know about, send us 250 words and a picture, and we'll post you here. And basically this will be sort of an ongoing directory, in effect, of networks in the state of Vermont. There is going to be, and there isn't now, a filtering bar that will allow you to find networks in Upper Valley, networks in Chittenden County, networks, arts. You'll be able to sort on these different categories. It's not up yet. And then the Learning Center is a great place because this is where we're posting events like this. So every week, every 2 weeks, ultimately every week, there'll be something new in this world here of the Learning Center, and then there'll be an archive of all the things that we've taught or that get featured here. It doesn't necessarily have to be something we've taught, but that the community has taught that we know about. And then this section is about directories and listings. And these are the major featured directories for the moment. If there are any that people feel are important and should be listed here, we want to know. And then listings, these are all listings that are pulled from these directories that ultimately will be able to be sorted by type, geography, and organizational interest area. Okay. So that's sort of the highlights, and I apologize that we didn't get to go deeper on this because that was part of the offer. But we are going to be doing specific workshops on this that you could do from your desk. You don't even have to come here to do it. And we'll make that available to you and let you know about it. But in the meantime, I would ask you to do a couple of things. One is go to the site and noodle around, and just be aware that the knowledge and information that's ultimately going to be on the site is going to come from the community. So it isn't, as I've said before, not Nick, Kathleen, and I coming up with what's here. I mean, we have to kind of get it going. But your events we want so that we can pull them in. Your Twitter posts and feeds and news about what you're doing with your organization, we want to pull it in. Ultimately, we'll be pulling in photographs. And your delicious tags, which essentially are the resources and the knowledge of the sector. And you'll want to organize those and tag them NPVT, but you also have these other subsidiary tags. And we'll be looking for those, and we will put them in the sort of the category or topic that it fits based on the keywords that you use. And they'll appear. See, there are millions of topics. Well, not yet, actually, but this will get bigger and bigger and bigger because you're going to be using different keywords to name and describe things. And each one of those will tie into one of these main categories. So get familiar with these topics and categories so that you can use these as tags, because then we'll be able to pull them in. Carmen, last question?
I was just wondering if you're doing anything to promote this site to the general public. Because it sounds very internal, much focused on the nonprofits.
Right now it is very focused on the nonprofits. You know, another objective of Common and Good is to raise the profile of the sector. So once there's news and information about what the sector is doing, then it becomes of value to the broader community. But right now it's really about capacity building tools for nonprofits. I mean, that was sort of what people said they wanted. And we were trying really hard to stay focused on what people wanted rather than to try to do everything. But over time, you could come here and you could say, oh, look at the marvelous networking that is happening in this state, or look at these learning opportunities that might be useful for my fire department, let alone my, transportation project. So I think that the base could grow. Also, because of the geography, you could create a page for Barnett, Vermont, right? And the people in Barnett, Vermont, it doesn't have to be a nonprofit. It could be sort of all the community organizations could tag their stuff Barnett and NPVT and start to populate the Barnett, Vermont page. So it becomes sort of something that you can basically add water if you know how to use and you're engaged in these practices, and it could become useful. Nick?
I just want to make the point that when tagging for the purposes of expanding your personal influence, so not for just personal organizing, for you know, for promoting your work. Just be conscious that it is public and that just because you do it doesn't actually mean it's going to be successful. Planned Parenthood in Northern New England and Vermont Food Bank are two examples of organizations that tag for the purpose of communication. So just be aware that just because you do it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get you the value that you want from it. You have to, I mean, just like any form of communication, you have to work on examples and just be aware that you're putting out information that's going to a very large audience of people, and you know, you'll be judged on the quality of it.
And you need to advertise.
You need to advertise.
You need to tell people.
You should totally do it, but just be smart about it.
So thank you very much for coming. I'm happy to answer any questions after, and I just wanted to make sure that you got out when we said you would. And this conversation will be continued. We've got Maven on advocacy and mobilizing next month, which will be great. Nick's going to be hosting that one, and we're looking forward to it. And don't forget, on February 11th, we're having a nonprofit legislative day at the State House. And so we really would love nonprofits to come and to talk to all the governor candidates for governor. We got a couple of really good panels about the future of the sector and how to use the legislature to your advantage. So register for that. Thank you so much for coming.